welcome to another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast, the place experts share their wisdom on living well by mastering health, wealth, relationships, and spirit. Before we get started, I want to let you know that the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends and family. Also, if you'd like to learn more about how to master life, check out our website at pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com. With that said, I hope you enjoy the episode. We have a very special guest with us today, so grab your pen and paper and enjoy the journey. All right, and we are live. Today we have with us Joe Bhakdi. Joe is the CEO of a deep genomics biotech called QuantGene, and they focus on real-time medical intelligence. Joe, thank you very much for jumping on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot, Gabe, for having me.
Absolutely. To get us started, why don't you tell everybody, who you are, what you do, and how you got started down that path in the first place?
Sure. I'm the founder and CEO of QuantGene. We are based here in Santa Monica and have also a research and development team in Berlin and Germany. So we are in Europe and in the US, but Santa Monica is our headquarters. And we actually started the company in 2015 at UC Berkeley with a focus on early cancer detection based on a very new, very high-tech approach where we look at circulating cell-free DNA in the blood that is shed into the blood by tumors. And that allows us to massively change cancer detection. So in theory, you're able to detect basically every cancer with the possible exception of glioblastomas, so brain cancers, at very early stages in the blood. Because now, instead of looking through imaging or other screening methods that are very crude and coarse, we are able to detect a single molecule of cancer DNA in the blood. And that means a much, much earlier detection capability. That's how we started the company. And from there, it was a very long path. It's extremely complex technology, including proprietary chemistry, sequencing systems, but also a lot of AI, signal processing, and cloud systems that you need for processing these massive amounts, like trillions of reads and everything, and then do pattern recognition. And on that path, the company kind of evolved. That's still a core component of the company that is now very close to launch. But we recognize that in order to do effective, any kind of precision and preventative medicine, you need to always go beyond this one silo, like cell-free DNA or cancer, and have a very comprehensive understanding of patients, because you need their risk profile for cancers, for example, for statistical reasons to be good in detection. You need to have their family history. You need to understand their genetics, which is different from cell-free DNA, your healthy genome. You have to understand their lifestyle. You have to understand certain ongoing metrics. And the more you know, the more it's kind of a squared function. If I get a new data dimension in, I have an exponential effect on all capabilities of cancer, but also other disease detection. And so now we ended up in doing something even more exciting that incorporates everything I said, but also builds what we call a system of real-time medical intelligence across a wide range of deep medical data that we constantly monitor for our customers and make sure that whatever happens in your body, we know at the earliest possible point across a wide area of diseases. Still strong focus on cancer, but more and more including other diseases.
Awesome. I love it. So I mean, obviously I'm not a scientist, but if I can follow what you're saying, is that you're saying you guys are developing technologies that will kind of give the end user, the normal person, access into their own how their body is functioning real time, and so they know when things are kind of going awry, and they can make adjustments before it actually gets to a point where it's irreversible.
Exactly. And I think you totally nailed it. And one very important point about QuantGene is there are lots of startups out there that do very cool stuff with wearables or taking in your BMI or like your scale, your weight. What we are doing is very hardcore, deep clinical grade stuff. So we are doing what kind of wearable companies, for example, say they are doing, but we do it on a deep, like MD level, right? So we basically look at blood samples. We actually do new diagnostics that are available only in a very few clinics. but that we kind of help develop. And we connect all that knowledge in real time to the entire medical science out there. Like that means we have systems that basically check all the CDC data sets, European government data sets on genetics, on pharmacogenetics, on specific cancer questions, and all over 25 million scientific publications, peer-reviewed. And we have a team of medical doctors and PhDs looking over all key results. And we are officially kind of a medical service. So for regulatory reasons, so we need to tie in doctors. So it's kind of the promise that we heard for a long time, right? From Apple Watch and other people. We just do the real thing, which is much more complex because you need the entire medical or clinical grade infrastructure for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine how complex it is on the backside. You know, as the consumers, we just want we want to be healthy. We want it just to appear and everything to kind of work for us. But I'm sure actually implementing the science and the technology behind it is super complex.
Well, but that's also, just to interject, I think you're right, but that's also very healthy for us because we are kind of the first company that goes from deep biotech and deep clinical grade medical infrastructure direct to consumers. And I think that's incredibly healthy for us. And a lot of our peers, you know, they don't do it and they don't know how to do it. They say, no, we deal with Medicare and the insurance, don't touch the patient. I totally disagree. I think it was the healthiest thing, the best decision we ever made to say, like, skip the insurance, make a $99 or $199 per month program and sell it directly to consumers and force us as a company to actually deliver on that value people want to see, right? And explain to people why this is so important and convince the right kind of customer that they pay for it. It keeps everything so much more accountable and efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned $199 per month. So kind of take us through how this product works from the consumer's point of view. The science is, I love the science behind it, but how is it going to look when say, you know, me, just a guy that's outside of science and I'm not in the health field. If I wanted to have real-time data on my health, what would it look like?
So we basically have two levels of the product. One level is the abstract level that we just discussed, right? Real-time medical intelligence across the board. That's our architecture, and that's how we deliver the product. From a marketing perspective,
and just to jump in here, sorry, real quick. Does that include blood draws? Does it include wearing devices? What does it look like from the consumer standpoint? Yep.
So we are very focused on blood draws, medical intake in the beginning to get all your family history and your medical history, and that's part of the service. Then do a genetics test. That's very important because genetics open up a whole wide world of all kinds of insights that help us a lot. And then do specific annual blood draws, including cancer detection. The actual blood draws are not included, so because that's an optional thing. We have a very comprehensive blood panel that you can do once a year that is highly effective. It's $199 on top of it. And we have the cancer detection technology that's like $1,000 a year on top of it. That is a very expensive exercise. I mean, I could go into the details, but we don't make a lot of money on that because it requires massive amounts of sequencing to get to that level of precision. And that's very proprietary. That's a quantity technology. And we hope over time costs go down so we actually start making money at some point on it. But we have to charge a little money for that. And that's on top of the $99 per month subscription model. But once you are in the system, the fascinating thing that most people are not aware of is if you talk about real-time medical intelligence, it's about two types of real-time data you need. One is your data, right? So if you do a blood draw on your side, that can be or variables or anything, or you enter your body weight, we monitor you in real time and what happens with you. But what most people are not even aware of, including many doctors, you have a whole different side of the equation, which is medical knowledge. So if I have your genetics and I know your variants, medicine is still stuck in the 20th century where you think, well, there is a certain type of knowledge that exists, and I'm a doctor or genetic counselor. I look at your variants and tell you what's going on. That is like the most outdated perspective you can have in the 21st century. Like, what if tomorrow some study in South Sweden figures out that a new variant that you have has actually a totally new impact that we didn't know of before, that you can't take that specific drug because you're going to throw up for 2 weeks with that variant and that drug. Like, no one knows that today because it's not known, but it might be known tomorrow. That happens every week. We have dozens of studies coming out. So science is exponentially accelerating, especially in genetics. And you need a system that not only monitors your data, but takes all of your data, the profile that you have, and runs it against all of medical science every week.
Oh, wow.
And that's exactly what no one can do right now except for us.
That's very cool. So if I'm understanding this right, so as on Pursuing Greatness, we're really focused on how you can master your health, how you can really nail your health and be the healthiest version of you possible. So with what you're saying is that you sign up for the service, you engage with the service, and when you get your tests done, it's not only run against current knowledge in the region that you live in, but it's also compared against global medical knowledge. And so if there's an improvement done in Sweden, if there's improvement done in the Congo, that will also be included in the analysis of your health.
Exactly. And that's actually a great example, the Congo, because we are right now in a pandemic, right? If you have some kind of symptoms and a genetic variant, and we see something in the blood that no one knows what it is, but in the Congo, they figure out there's a new weird virus outbreak, and you had just happened to that virus, your doctor has zero chance of ever understanding that. Our system has a much better chance. Of course, in medicine, you never guarantee anything, but at least we scan globally everything, including data sets, not just publications. There are also many government data sets that are not being utilized because a primary care doctor doesn't know how to build like a cloud-based, real-time intelligence system. So it is super important, and genetics is probably the fastest growing discipline in this whole field. Mm-hmm. Pharmacogenetics, I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's a very important part of genetic science right now, that you can take your variants. There are growing data sets that 99% of primary care physicians don't even know of, that contain, I'm not bashing them, they also work with us and for us, so I'm just saying there is no technical capability in a normal doctor's office for that. Where you can run your genetic variants against these data sets to see any drug incompatibilities you have, prescription drugs. That's not a rarity. It's very likely that the vast majority of all side effects in drugs have some kind of genetic reason or cause. So when you take that one pill and 20% of patients get a rush, or another 15% have to throw up, right? And you just don't know why. What we see more and more in genetics is, but now we know why. You have a specific variant that makes your body,
blood type O or whatever, for some reason is affected by this drug, and you have blood type O, so.
Awesome. Exactly. Only that it's much higher resolution. We know, okay, with that variant, that protein is changed, therefore that metabolism can't work on that chemical. That is that drug. So when you take the drug normal dose, you are heavily overdosed because your body cannot metabolize it.
Wow.
You need to know that stuff. And it's all, a lot of that, well, tens of thousands of drugs, we know that now. And we have these data sets, but most doctors don't know of it.
That's amazing. It's like customizing your own medicine it's customizing basically your health, customizing how you're interacting with the medical field. And so I love it. I love what you guys are doing.
Also giving you a layer of control and accountability for your doctor, right? If you have Serenity, Quantine Serenity, our product, and your doctor prescribes you a bunch of stuff, you just type it in and see what happens. And if it says, oh, I wouldn't take that, you can print it out, get to your doctor, or connect him to us and say, and we explain that.
Be like, hey man, this thing says I shouldn't be taking this drug. Come on, where are you at?
Yeah, and we had actually these experiences, very funny, especially for someone like me who likes to challenge doctors sometimes. the doctors always look at you a little like surprised when you come up with these things. Like, how the hell did you find that out?
Yeah, I can only
Well,
imagine. So I don't want to get too deep into this next topic, but I am interested just to ask. I know you guys do COVID testing. Where do you see that going in the next few months?
Well, COVID testing, we were first reluctant because we thought other people are going to solve the problem. And then we saw that's definitely not the case. And now we are, the fastest COVID testing operation in California. So we have same-day COVID testing turnaround with high-quality PCR tests in the lab because we actually developed a real-time software. And we won't go into too deep into it, but basically labs are totally backwards how they operate. They don't have anything is paper, and then they have all these systems. We developed one flow software and can basically turn around the results to you at the second where it leaves the PCR machine, which is pretty unusual for labs. So that allowed us to be very fast. We do it for employers, for the government, and for individuals here with walk-ins. And in my opinion, I take this day by day and week by week. Right now, we have an enormous problem. The problem is rising, not falling. And all these hopes of vaccines and all kinds of stuff, like the politicians say on both sides, yeah, it's all great. We have a vaccine, then the problem is solved. Like, dudes, if you have a vaccine, that doesn't mean it works. It doesn't mean anyone is taking the vaccine. How do you get that to 100 million Americans? And what happens if that virus mutates, which it already does? So, I mean, I don't want to be a pessimist here, but COVID is a little problem of a global size. This is going to mutate. It's a coronavirus. It is mutated already into COVID-19. What do you think it does next? It mutates into COVID-20. So it's not rocket science. And so all these vaccines and treatments, they are not going to solve the problem. That's my take on it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, we're recording this in August 12th, and it'll probably go live sometime in October. So it'll be interesting to see, where the world is at in October. I don't see it abating and for at least a year, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It's all conjecture at this point. I'm sure you have a much better understanding of it than I do, but time will tell.
I mean, I always just advise people the most important thing is actually get genetic testing. There are some variants that make you much more likely to have very bad outcomes with COVID. If you don't have them, if you don't have these genetic variants and you are not old, obese, or sick, or pneumonia, or anything like that, COVID is not that dangerous for you. That doesn't mean you should be reckless, but you shouldn't go overboard and kill yourself just to not get COVID. You should be considerate and, wear masks to not infect other people. But you don't have to be super anxious and scared of it. If you have any specific conditions, you have to be very cautious. Just avoid people and stay quarantined. And of course, I don't just say that because we do testing, but I can recommend to get tested, not antibody tested. That's pretty useless because it doesn't tell you anything. But if you go to a party or have to travel or something, PCR tests really help you know if you have COVID. And there's a reason why this is required in many contexts.
Yeah, I love it. I actually, my girlfriend and I, we were going down to visit her grandparents or her parent. Right? Yeah, no, that's her grandparents. They're in their 80s, and so we both got tested before we went and hung out with them for a little bit just to make sure that, we weren't unwittingly giving them the disease. So you guys are doing great work. So I appreciate all the testing you're doing. That's fantastic. We are at the end of the episode here. It goes by really quickly. Before we leave, though, we go into the quick round. So there's 5 really quick questions that I'm going to ask you. First question, I love books. You might be a bookie too. So I like to ask 2 book recommendations. First one, anything about life wisdom, any book recommendation you have there. And then one about your topic, about growing a business, about healthcare, anything like that.
Well, I have to be a little self-promotional here because we're actually launching a book very soon. It's called Medical Intelligence. No surprise there. And Medical Intelligence. So if you want to know more about that, you can shoot me an email. We put you on the list, jb at quantine.com. And it's about giving a comprehensive overview over, I think we have a fire alarm.
Oh, wow. If that's the case, if you got to leave, we can cut this
I
one
think
short.
it's exercise, and they say I don't have to leave. So
Okay.
The other book, it's more like a topic than a book that I recommend to everyone who is interested in innovation and the history of innovation and the secrets of innovation. I'm also coming out with a book for that, but I'm not going to promote that. My favorite example, because it shifts your mind and tells you a little bit what is possible if you wanted to invent something that's really important, are books on the Manhattan Project.
Interesting.
It's absolutely worth reading those because here, for example, I think there are two that I read that are pretty good. One is called the Manhattan Project, and one is called The Making of the Atomic Bomb.
Interesting.
And what I found so enlightening is when we talk about cancer or nuclear fusion or space, I think most people are not aware that the main reason we are not getting this done is pure laziness. It's like the pure lack
really?
of. Yeah, it's if aliens would attack the planet and the only way to survive is nuclear fusion reactors for some reason, we would have that in 12 months. No doubt.
Interesting. Actually,
So,
I love that topic. I've read a bunch about it just because, I'm interested in it, and it's fascinating to hear that, we're just being lazy. Come on, humanity, what's going on?
It's laziness, but not in the sense of no one is working. It's lazy. It's like intellectual complacency, right? If you look at cancer or fusion, like you have a bunch of professors who get their salaries and write their little papers, and they like to publish and want to get their career. No one knows, like if you knew, okay, you get shot in 12 months, if you don't have that thing, everything would change, like immediately. Everything we do would change immediately because there's this complacency, like I'm just doing this to get promoted, I want more papers. Okay, what if all of us get shot in 12 months if you don't have that reactor? Guess what would happen? We would have that reactor.
That's right. When you give yourself a deadline that has pretty strong repercussions, it's going to get done no matter what it is.
And that was the atomic bomb. I mean, this was something where they knew the Nazis probably have that thing in 2 years. If we don't have it, they have atomic bombs and we don't, and that's not a healthy situation. And so they were very, very afraid, and they were right to be afraid. And they were in a total panic mode, but they were very smart people in panic mode and with a lot of resources. And they said, okay, skip all the BS. We need that thing. Like we need just enough science to get it done, but no BS. Right? No bureaucracy. The engineers get on the work. We plan this out so we know what the price of failure is here.
Interesting. I love it. So medical intelligence by you guys, and I'll ask for your contact information in a second. And then the Manhattan Project. Great book recommendations. So the next question is, I'm losing track here. There we go. What habit contributes the most to your success?
What habit? Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think two things come to mind. So I really am protective of my creativity and imagination. And with that, I mean, if people get too much on my nerves or investors or anything, I just escape. It's like, I can't deal with this because if you stress me out too much, I can't have ideas. If I don't have ideas, I'm dead. Because things like that, if you develop a technology like we did, you need like 1,000 ideas per year, not one, because nothing works initially and you just have to think your way out. Sorry for the noise.
No
and
worries.
The other habit I think maybe is even connected to that is persistence.
Mm-hmm.
You just cannot give up. Like you have to build your startup or your life in a way where you don't run out of money. Very important. Just be frugal, live in doubt. Get as much money as you can and spend as little as you can. And then know that nothing can really stop you. And if you have setbacks, just ignore it. Say, okay, I'm gonna just close my eyes and keep walking. They always like this saying, I love the saying, if you're in hell, keep walking.
Yep.
if you're
going through hell, keep walking.
Walking, that's my favorite. So, not that I'm in hell, but Sometimes it's tough. So
Right.
persistence and just, keep walking and make sure nothing can throw you off. Like nothing substantial can really get in your way. Like in terms of
Like fire alarms. You just keep talking through it.
nothing.
No, I love it. So that's great pieces of advice. Protect your creativity, which for me means protect your alone time, your solitude time. Make sure that you have bandwidth in your brain in order to actually get that creativity. And then perseverance. Think your way out of things. Things are going to go wrong, and it's really up to you to just keep moving forward, even when things do go wrong, because it's guaranteed they will. Awesome. So next question. If you could go back to yourself, the Joe who just got started out, and just give him one quick piece of advice, what would that be? Probably.
You mean how long back? Like after high school or something?
Yeah, usually I say after college, when you're just starting in the work world.
Well, it's a little weird, the advice I would give me. I don't know how applicable this is to everyone, but when I look back and look at what is the biggest thing I could have done to accelerate things, move to the United States faster.
Interesting.
I could have moved here 10 years earlier or 6 years earlier, I think, and I didn't do it for whatever reasons. Like in the end, it was like just complacency, I think.
Yeah.
I have a deep appreciation, like many immigrants probably, for the United States. I think there is a unique thing here, which is the people and the culture, which is very hard to describe, but it's the sense, this pioneering sense that just is like everywhere. It kind of is like everywhere, like from people investing money, like every random person I mean say, oh, do you need money? I can give you money. Like everyone believes in stuff and people are very open-minded. I know sometimes things look dark here when you're in it, but it's actually not very dark. Even the dark stuff is fun for me. Like that, it's all the craziness.
Yep. No, that's really interesting. So move to the United States. I know you're from Germany, and that is a very that's a very technologically advanced in some ways even more than the United States. And so it's that's
Germany is a great. I'm not going to bash Germany. It's a great country. It's very high tech. It's highly efficient. But the US is still, in my opinion, for me, much better to create new stuff. That's where the US is the best at.
awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here. So that's fantastic. Awesome. So Joe, we are at the end of the episode. I really appreciated having you on here. If someone did want to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to reach out?
You can always reach out via Twitter, Joe Bhakdi. But I think email is good, jb@quantum.com.
And that's jb@quantum.com, correct?
QUANTGENE, yes.
Oh, quantgene.com, sorry. QUANTGENE. Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Joe, again, thank you for coming on here. For everybody who's here with us on this journey today, thank you guys for showing up. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends and family. And we look forward to having you on the next episode. Thank you guys for sticking with us on another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of that guest. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Also, check out pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com if you want to get more information about what we do and what we offer. I hope you guys have a great day and keep living in integrity with yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode coming shortly.